Okay, so we're going to continue on with our console application. So we have a get in here that's going to get a very specific person, and it's going to return that data to us and then write it out to the console. We demonstrated with the web server running that works fine. So what happens if we now want to get everybody instead of just the one single person? So we're going to go ahead and implement that right now. So the way we do that is we're going to write some more code here. So basically, I'm going to leave that get in place, and we're going to write another get that just calls person, and we know person will return everything, and we don't need to declare a new response. We've already got one, so we'll go ahead and use that to get our to make our call asynchronously. The await is blocking though, so it's going to wait until it does this, and then it'll return the data. And then, assuming that it's successful, it will go ahead and we'll make some changes here. So what we'll do now is we'll do a list of persons. And we will go get the data. And we'll read as async again. And we'll say list person. So that will read the data into that list. Oops, we forgot a couple of parentheses there that are important. Alright, and then we'll just write a for loop that will loop through for however many persons we get back. So person is now a list, so it has a count of how many things are in it. And we will write out the data again, but we're going to have to change this write just a little bit. So instead of saying person this way, we're going to have to say person sub I, because we're now dealing with a list of these. So we'll go through and just add that on every one of these. And you'll be able to see all the code that we've added. We just copied and pasted. Copy and paste is great, but sometimes you can create errors, so it's always pays to be careful with that. Alright, so the first thing we'll do is we'll do the get of the individual person, and then we'll just put a console right there. Now I have 1,000 records out here or more that are all duplicates, or a lot of them are duplicates, and we're going to actually delete the database here in just a minute, but let's run this and see what it looks like. I'm going to set a breakpoint down here at the bottom so we can actually see what happens when it gets there. So here we go. You'll see it's going and getting all of our data. So you'll see this. Here's all those records. In fact, there's so many it scrolled out of my console window. Let's make this a little bit easier to read. Well, okay. Alright, so that's getting all of them. So now what I'm going to do is go remove that data, because that's an awful lot of data to deal with. So I've just got my database open here. I'm going to go ahead and just remove those. Okay, so let's see what it's telling me here. it's saying I can't update the table without a where clause, and something about to disable safe mode, toggle the option. Boy, this makes it difficult to read, doesn't it? Alright, let's get this in a form we can actually read it. So without a where clause to disable safe mode, toggle the option in preferences, SQL editor, and reconnect. Well, that sounds like a lot of trouble. So let's do this. Let's do select star from personnel. Let's execute just that. And we are going to say where, so in our delete, where first name is equal to Bilbo. And that should be happy now. Okay. Well, I'm going to pause the recording right now while I fix this, and then I'll come back and tell you what we did. Okay, so in Windows, underneath Edit, Preferences, and SQL Editor, you'll see this little safe update, so I'm going to uncheck that, hit OK, and let's do a reconnect. Start from okay, and we'll do delete from okay, so that got rid of all the data. So we do a select. We now have nothing in there, which is what we want. That's great. Okay, so we're all set then. We cleared out the database. So let's continue on. Alright, so now, if I run this now, let's see, this is, let's set our breakpoint down here at the bottom. So you'll notice our get fails. It throws an exception not found, which is correct because there's no data in there now. Okay, so let's put some data in. So we'll do that using a post. So let's stop the debugger. And let's go ahead and do the post. Okay, so why don't we write some data first? So let's do this right here. And let's do a post. So this is going to be, it's just going to write out post to the console. And let's get us a new person. And set all the properties. So this is just our model that we're using. So we'll use Frodo instead of Bilbo. Last name, Baggins. So this is pretty standard stuff. We're just setting properties. Pay rate. Start date. Okay, for this we'll do a date time parse and give it a date. That'll take the date time that I give it as a string and turn it into a date time object, which will let us assign that. So, and we'll do something very similar for the end date. And we'll make that a couple of years later. All right, now this is going to be a little bit different the way we code this, but it'll go like this. Actually, what I need to do is do a little rearrangement of this code real quick. I just need to put a response object up here for me to use. And then we will do this to it like so. And this will just make sure that we're declared. So we don't need all of that. Okay, so we've declared the HTTP response message in the variable called response. We've used it down here, but we're going to use it for our post, but it's a little bit different. So response is equal to await client dot. Now here we're posting as JSON async. So we're going to post this as JSON. We're going to give the endpoint that we're going to post to, which is the person endpoint. We know that person with a put on it, or a post on it, will create the new person. And we can do something similar with our status code. And so now what we'll do is get the URI of that resource that we just created, because we know that'll give us back whenever we create a new one. It gives us the URI. So to do that, that is in the response headers location. That's where that happens to be. And we will write out the person URL. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that and make sure that works. Now, I'm going to set a breakpoint right here because we don't want to run any further than that. So let's just start this. Make sure that it posts okay. And we got an exception. Okay. So what did we do wrong? I moved this code around a little bit, so I think that maybe that might have caused a problem here. So let's just well, let's debug a little. It's a good learning tool. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me just make sure my server's still running. Hope I didn't stop it. Oh, I did. That's the problem. I stopped the server. So let's go back. That would explain why. So it just keeps saying I can't do anything because the server's not running. So we will stop this and let's... Okay. So let's make sure our server's running before we do anything else. So what we'll do is we'll do a get on person, which should give us back a row, because we only have one. And there's our response there. Okay. And let's see. Oh, that does not... Oh, yeah, we haven't done the post yet. Okay, so here we go. Let's get on with it. Okay, so this is... we should be fine now. So we're going to go ahead and run this. So you'll notice that it ran and it gave us back the URL. You can just barely see that, but there's the person, and this is 7426. Okay, so we need to change this to 7426 because there is no 3 anymore. So if we run this, now when I run this, it's going to post another one. So we've now created 2 Frodo Baggins in our database. So let's go see what happens if we go look at our data. Okay, so there they both are. There's 7426 and 7427. So our post worked great. All right, now if we wanted to do a put, it's really easy. I'll demonstrate just adding the code in right here. Once we have the URL that we do, then it's really easy to just do the post. So what I'm going to do is say, I'm going to take this particular person, it's going to add it again, it's going to add Frodo again, but this time we're going to say the pay rate, we're going to give them a raise, is equal to maybe something like that. And then what we'll do is we'll do a response equals await client dot put as JSON async, and we're going to just put the same object back on that URL. Okay, so there's the URL, and here's new person. And what that will do is that will create another Frodo Baggins, but it will increase the pay rate. But you'll note that it will have done this, and I will set a breakpoint here so we can actually watch this happen. So let's watch. It'll add our third one. Okay, so we haven't done the post yet, or the put, sorry. So let's go look and see what we have. If we look at our get, so we should have 3 of them in here, so we do. And we just added this one, and we're going to change this one's pay rate. Okay. So we are going to go ahead and continue. And if we look, if we go do our get again, you'll notice that it's updated the pay rate right there. Okay, so that works great. And one more little thing we need to do to finish out our operations, and then we'll wrap this video up, and that is that we need to do a delete. So delete is actually pretty easy. It's just await, and we do client dot delete async, and we give it the URL that we want to delete. So this is going to add a 4th one. It'll modify its pay to $998.77, and then it will immediately delete it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it on the delete so we can see it, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so this should add a 5th one. So if we do our get here, there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's the 4th one. So sorry, there's 4. So now 7429 should get removed by this delete right here, because that's the URL that we're on right here. If we look at this at 7, you'll notice the URL is 7429. That's the one we just added. So I'm going to hit continue, and then we'll go look at this again, and it should be gone. So 7429 should be deleted. And now we just have 3. So there we've demonstrated in this session how to get everybody, get all the records, do a post, do a put, and do a delete. So I hope this was useful for you. You can see that writing a C# console application to access any REST server using JSON is pretty simple.